Woo!
It's been way too long since I've heard that music, man.
It has been way too long. What is going on, everybody? Let the music roll. Let it roll.
Here we go.
Man, it feels good to be back. How is it going, everybody? Welcome in to the first one of the year, Celtics Talk Weekly Post-Game Show. I am your host, Robby, and joined with me are two co-hosts, Nick Franco and my man, Randy Elfman, who is new, his first post-game show. Give him an applause. Give him an applause. First one.
Thank you, guys.
I got to use the soundboard again. I'm so happy.
But guys, again, it feels great to be back. First Celtics game of the not regular season, but of the basketball season kicks off in Abu Dhabi for the little 2024 Abu Dhabi games. This is the first one of a two-game little mini series against no other than the Denver Nuggets. Guys, we saw a lot of different action today from different types of players, the starters, the bench, the third stringers. A lot of good, some bad, but I'm really excited to hop into it. However, guys, before we get started, I do want to say this post-game show is brought to you by SeatGeek. Guys, with the NBA season and many more events coming back, there is no better app to use than SeatGeek. They have a great process that shows you whether or not your ticket is valuable, from a green scale, meaning it's worth it, to a red scale, meaning you should stay away. Guys, it shows you a great view from the app itself of what your seat will look like. I use it. I know all the CTW crew uses it when they do go to games.
Preseason. When they're
absolutely, guys,
from this trip, hopefully we'll be back in the Garden.
Absolutely. At checkout, use code Celtics Weekly for $20 off your first purchase. We are very, very excited to be sponsored by SeatGeek, guys, and excited to see what the future has in store for us. But again, enough of that. Let's get into what everyone is here for, what we're here for, talking about the C's. And we actually have some game to talk about, guys. So again, we saw two different kind of games today. We saw the first half, which was a lot of the starters run. And the second half was kind of the ran by the both teams' bench unit, guys. I do want to talk about something. No Al Horford tonight. We did see kind of what it would look like in the first half for the Celtics on the second night of a back-to-back here at the first half of the season, with Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford not playing in those games. How did you guys like, or what did you guys like from what you saw out of Luke Cornett and Xavier Tillman today?
Yeah, I think when for the first matchup, it's a hard one. Nikola Jokic for Luke Cornett to start off the game with, and we saw during the first quarter that was pretty much a showcase from both teams, showing off both their star players, letting them play it out, letting them get their feet in the sand and getting back into the rhythm. We obviously saw the Celtics dealing with the shooting struggles in the first quarter, but Luke Cornett definitely did a great job of filling in for Al Horford and Kristaps. I think that he did a sustainable job, especially when the second rotation came in for the Nuggets. He was able to match up much better, and you can just see how comfortable he is in the system with the Boston Celtics, and that was the key part of getting every single player back onto this roster and being able to roll with the same guys, because you can see that formality starting to come back.
Yeah. Franco, it's interesting you actually point out, they come back with the same guys like we were talking about before. Same guys this year. Xavier Tillman's one of those guys, though. This year he's going to have to step up. Al Horford, we already know, he's not going in back-to-backs, so it's going to be a lot of Xavier Tillman, a lot of Luke Cornett. And I think today, and even Neemias Queta, but I was telling you guys earlier, watching Queta on the defensive side of the ball, it was honestly, it was tough to watch a little bit. He was overcommitting a lot on the weak side, and it was honestly it was kind of it was like a mental block for our defense when he was overcommitting on the backside, kind of creating those easy pick and rolls that he wasn't covering in the paint. So that was that was messing up the rotation a little. We didn't even if shots weren't falling, just open looks. I mean, other teams those are easy buckets, and even the Nuggets too. We know what they got, so easily
Right.
could have been easy points. So I wasn't a fan of Neemias Queta today on the defensive side. On the offensive side, I like Queta. He used his body well. He was kind of shielding off defenders and using the glass to his advantage. His height. He's big, tall center. Used his height to his advantage. I did like Luke Cornett a lot today. We were talking, kind of ran the baseline well. I think Denver with Jokic, at least early, they were trying to run a pick and roll, a high pick and roll up elbow free throw line pick and roll. And Cornett was kind of a victim to, the 2-on-1 coming in the paint. And I think Cornett actually defended it very well. He was defending the lob threat, but he was also trying to challenge up top as well. And I think as the season moves forward, especially without Al Horford, I think that's going to be huge for Luke Cornett and Xavier Tillman to become more versatile on both ends.
I loved what I saw from the big men on the offensive side of the floor. I thought Cornett did a phenomenal job on the glass. Again, he's been such a good roller in that pick and roll, high pick and roll action, especially with Jason Tatum. And they saw more of that. He was great in the dunker spot. And on Tillman, knocked down 2 threes today, right? Great spacer. I thought he did a better job defensively, I think. Obviously, 2 steals, 1 block. You're going to get that out of Tillman with the perimeter versatility he has. Terms of defensively, I think it was pretty easy. And again, it's the preseason, so you don't know how high intensity is. But with Porzingis being out and with Horford being out, I think there's a lot of responsibility that's going to fall onto the perimeter defense in keeping people out of the lane and from getting into the paint. Because I will say our interior defense was non-existent tonight.
Right.
Or today rather, which is, again, it's the first game of the year. It's the preseason.
It's the Nuggets too.
Yeah, right. So this one's going to be tough, but I think a takeaway I have in terms of the big men, honestly, it kind of correlates to the guards a little bit, is that, obviously they're going to be able to do a great job. I thought I'd give them a very, very solid score today. But guards are going to have to keep their guys in front of them and out of the lane, and because it's going to be a little bit more pressure on the guards because we are weak down there. So next up I want to talk about is some Jason Tatum here tonight, guys. JT, with that new form, he looked stellar from behind the arc. 3 of 7, 43% from 3. That's kind of what I was looking for him. What I'm kind of got my eye on this preseason is just that, how's that 3-point shot falling? Tonight, or today rather, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists in 19 minutes of action. Pretty JT-esque numbers. Guys, what did you see from Tatum today that you liked or what you didn't like?
We're receiving more of, I think one thing that people want to see from Jason Tatum that I've heard is we want to see Jason Tatum become that MVP level player. He's doing all the other things on the court and still being a team player and serving to get the ball to everyone else, being that threat, knowing that he's the primary option and knowing that there are 4 other guys who are very capable of scoring around. I think that's what we saw again from him tonight. He's not the one that's going to be forcing those plays and creating the ISO shots that we want to start seeing a lot more from him, honestly. And one thing that I saw or don't want to see happen, but I think will, if it does come into fruition, is if there are injuries on this roster to a few key players, I think that's when we'll start to see a lot more of Jason Tatum playing that more aggressive, selfish type of basketball where he is able to have those 40-point performances and go on those hot stretches. And I think definitely with the new jump shot, that's going to help out a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, Franco, I hate to disagree with you here, but no, just kind of like what you said with the going on 40-point You know, whatever. But with Tatum, the thing is, he's had so much like backlash in the past. You know, where he does have these 50 balls or these 30 balls, and it's great, it's whatever. But the consistency with Tatum is really, I feel like, what kind of sparks all this, you know, backlash that he gets about, oh, is he an MVP? Can he what? So I feel like, I mean, yes, I loved seeing him tonight. I loved seeing his first 3-pointer go down. I did notice, you know, he is jumping higher now in his shots. I don't know.
Stance is wider, I've noticed.
Yeah,
Stance is a little bit wider.
Stance is wider. He's getting off the ground. So yes, maybe now he will be, you know, a better scorer for the team. But what I'm looking for this year out of Tatum is, even if he's just a 20 to 25 guy a night, great scorer, if he can give us 8 to 10 assists, or, you know, 6 to 10, whatever, 6 to 10 rebounds, and he gives us consistent numbers, I'll take that over a 32 in one game. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's just, especially for, I mean, not that the media should really matter to us, but especially for the media, it's like that. I feel like that's what we all want. We all want to see Jason Tatum. Yeah, we want to see him get a 40 ball, a 50 ball. But what we really want to see is the Celtics win a championship. And yes, he has to be that guy who's consistent, but consistency comes not just from scoring. He facilitated. I don't exactly know what his stat line was. You might have mentioned, Rob, but I'm not exactly sure what his stat line was tonight. You said 12 and
12, 6, and 5.
12 something. Yeah. 12, 6, and 5. That's perfect for the amount of for the amount he played. For the amount he played, I think 12, 6, and 5 is a perfect number. I liked his facilitating today. I don't think he tried to do too much, which was great. His defense was I mean, it was what you could expect out of a preseason game, that I feel like 50% of the guys weren't even trying very hard. But yeah, overall, I think Tatum played well, and I think if he just continues doing what he did today, I think we'll be perfectly fine. You know, we got all of our other stars and whatever. So as long as Tatum can kind of complement everyone's game like he did this season, we'll be good.
I loved what I saw from Tatum today. Just because, and I don't want to get too stuck and caught up in the numbers game, because more so with the thing with me and Jason Tatum, what that looks like, right, is, you know, how does it look when he's playing, right? We know Tatum can explode for these 40-point nights and these 50-point nights, and we know Tatum has the ability to get 12 assists, to get 15 assists, right? But for me, with Jason Tatum in particular, it's, how does he look when he's playing? Is he playing within the flow of the offense? Because I do think, again, the Celtics team is such a unique situation, especially when Porzingis returns, where you have 5 guys on the court pretty much at all times who demand the ball, who are good with the ball, but are all sacrificing the ball. And I do think that when I'm looking at Tatum this year, I'm really looking for 2 things out of him: to continue to dominate that high pick and roll. Because when you put a guy that's 6'10" on Jason Tatum's frame, that has his shooting ability at times, that can get downhill in that action, alongside his vision, I've noticed, he is, even if it's just a hockey assist, out of that pick and roll, out of that action, that screen action at the top of the key, he is just setting everyone up to get open. And that's what I'm looking for him. And I'm looking for him to get downhill a little bit more this year. So again, I think I saw that tonight from Tatum, or today. It's weird that the noon start time in Abu Dhabi is messing me up. But, you know, I think you guys both have it, because quite frankly, I think it is very important for Tatum this year. I think he would say it himself, is he wants some of those big games. And with Porzingis being out of the lineup for 40-something games, 30-something games, he's going to have the opportunity to have some of those big games. And, you know, he is the champion, and the goal here is to go back-to-back. But if we're looking in particular at Jason Tatum, you know, I think he does want to have those big games. And coming from Randy's side of things, I think the assist number is a telltale sign on how Jason Tatum played. Because, again, we know he can score. We know he can get 40, but sometimes his shot's not there. I think this year, like Randy said, you're going to start to see Jason Tatum average right around 6 assists, right? You're going to see that number, 7 assists, 8 assists, way more often. The offense is running through Tatum right now, and he is the distributor. And quite frankly, if you told me that 3 years ago, I didn't think he'd be able and up for the challenge to run the offense. But today, for the 19 minutes he played in the first preseason game, he looked pretty good out there. And then, who also looked solid out there was his running mate, Jaylen Brown, doing MVP, finals MVP type things. He had that great block on Kankar that went against the backboard. He had that throwdown dunk. I mean, he was doing Jaylen Brown things. Guys, what did you see from Jaylen Brown today that you liked and are excited for?
Another high energy performance from him. I believe that he wanted to make a great impression on Abu Dhabi. Had a great performance today. He also was the one who introduced the team. I think he's turning into more of a captain role within the team, as we've noted throughout the year. Jason Tatum being more the lead by example type of player on this team, and what Jaylen Brown has been bringing is that being that energy player that the team needs, making the aggressive plays, making the highlight plays. I definitely think that his athleticism has just improved over time, and I think he's become much more of a independent force with on the offensive side when he has the ball. And I think that's something that Tatum will start to resemble a lot more of, and if that's the way they complement each other, is just being almost opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to scoring. And
I mean, Franco, kind of to your point, Jaylen Brown today, he kind of came out like he looked like a guy who didn't make the Olympic team. Like he looked like an angry, like a guy who was on a mission. He didn't make the Olympic team. He was mad. He came out. He kind of looked angry, like you said, Rob, with that block on John Char, right? And then he threw one down, coming down the lane. Xavier Tillman hit him on a nice cut, threw it down. He looked angry. He looked like he had a statement to make. And I mean, like you said, Rob, I mean, he is one of, the few guys in the NBA that I really think he's just an all-around, athletic freak. He can throw it down with authority. The guy can shoot. I honestly think Jaylen Brown has the best mid-range shot in the league. And no disrespect to Kevin Durant, but I genuinely think Jaylen Brown, hand in the face, shooting a rainbow shot, doesn't matter. Jaylen Brown, I really think, is the best mid-range guy in the league. And I mean, I'm probably going to get, controversial, whatever. But I think Jaylen Brown, one of the most complete guys in the league, the guy can do it all. In his mid-range game, as he's, I'd consider him a vet now, going into his 8th year now?
Year nine.
Not 9. Oh,
year
geez.
9.
Oh, yeah. Ninth season. I'd consider him a vet. I feel like his mid-range game has just taken over his game all around. But I think if we can get the version of Jaylen Brown we got last year, which is just going to keep improving, I really think back-to-back is definitely possible. And Jaylen Brown as an individual, all NBA team, I think 100%. So
Drew Carter said on the broadcast, is it a write-in for Jaylen Brown to be all defensive team? And I think it is, and I really think like the interesting part, and we saw it all season last year, and I think the trend this year, and kind of what I saw a little bit in the 19 minutes he played, was he's the defensive anchor, and like as good as Holiday and White are, because they're probably the best, like, talent-wise, Holiday's probably the best in this league in terms of what he can do as from a versatility aspect. Obviously, Wembanyama's great too. But I think Jaylen Brown's like the backbone of your defense, where it's like, when he's out there, he brings something that, talent alone doesn't get you. And I think he's embraced that role. And I think that's what makes Jaylen Brown so special is, yes, what he can do offensively. I agree with you. His mid-range is a tough shot to defend. He can get downhill. He can, when he's feeling it from behind the arc, he's nearly unguardable. But for me, it's like, all right, what separates Jaylen Brown from the rest is his just two-way ability. I mean, really, when you look at two-way forwards in the league, I don't think there's anyone that's near Jaylen Brown's level. So, in terms of how the Jays performed, a lot of what you expected. It's the first preseason game. You're not going to pull too much from it, but from the basics, I think we liked what we saw. Guys, it's time for the player spotlight. And I'm not surprised this person is the player spotlight. I mean,
we all know.
It's preseason P. It's every year. The guy takes this opportunity just to absolutely hoop. Tonight, he did his thing. 21 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Now, we've fallen victim of preseason P a couple times now. And this is no shade at Peyton Pritchard at all, but there is something about the preseason that this man just absolutely loves. The guy has been balling out in the preseason for the past couple years. He did it again tonight, guys. 6 of 12 from behind the arc to go along with his 21 points. Franco, when you look at Peyton Pritchard, obviously, again, when you're running it back, you're not going to see too much different from this team. But what are you looking for, or what did Peyton Pritchard show you tonight that you're kind of getting excited about?
I am absolutely thrilled with what we're going to get from Peyton Pritchard off the bench. I think what he is going to bring to the table, as what Randy said earlier in our group chat, was 6th man of the year. That's a solid debate that before the season begins. I think we could bring that on over to another episode, but I will also want to quote the X-Man. I am against preseason athletics, particularly basketball, but in any excuse to push Peyton Pritchard agendas, I am here for. And that he is speaking for the entire Celtics Talk Weekly team when he says that. I believe what he can bring in isolation scoring, being the playmaker, and we've seen him go from just being able to be that spark plug, but being able to contribute in the other factors, being able to pick up on the little things. That was one of the knocks on him in the earlier years of his career was, will he be able to do more on the defensive side? Is he going to continue to be a defensive liability? He is one of the most peskiest on-ball defenders I've seen on the team, other than Drew and Derek and JB. I think that he's going to do a great job as growing as a two-way player, and I think the sky's the limit for him when it comes to this team, depending on how many minutes they want to give him.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Peyton Pritchard, he in the first half, 4 3-pointers. It was honestly kind of like the definition of everything you touch turns to gold. Every time Peyton Pritchard had the ball, it was a quick trigger, confident. I mean, he was just shooting it like he was shooting a ball. I don't know. It was incredible to watch. Peyton Pritchard, 4 3-pointers, 14 points in the first half in 12 minutes of play. And Franco, to your point, 6th man of the year for sure. That's my pick. And if I think if the guy can get, I don't know, anywhere between 16 to 20 minutes in any game, I think we can see him do what he did tonight. Not maybe to that extent where 21 points. I don't think that's reasonable, but I think we could definitely see him be an 8 to 12, consistent, double-digit scorer if he can get those minutes, like I was saying. But yeah, I mean, this guy, I think he, coming out of Oregon, he was, I think, very underrated, and I think he's now proven himself. And like we said, maybe a 6th man, but yeah, definitely a bright future this year for Pritchard. And it should be exciting to watch him. Hopefully, I'm hoping that he gets the minutes like I was talking about, but we'll see. A lot of good guys on the team.
I feel like consistency is the key for Peyton Pritchard, because I feel like a lot of times throughout especially over the course of 82 games, you get different versions of Pritchard, where one of them is this, flamethrower off the bench, you can't miss, right? And you're very happy with what you see, and then you kind of feel like, okay, there's a 20-game stretch where he's not making shots, and it's not working. And I'd like to see Peyton Pritchard this year kind of put together a complete 82 games. And I get it. It's tough, right? You don't even get a complete 82 games out of some of the league's best players. But when he is out there and his shot's not falling, what else are you doing for me? Last year, he developed the offensive rebounding thing. That was, when his shot wasn't falling, you knew Pritchard was going to go in there and get some offensive rebounds. So, I'm not going to go as far and say 6 man of the year. I can't back you guys up on that one. Unfortunately, that's a little.
I said candidate.
Yeah. Candidate. Top 5.
All right. I listen. I mean, hey, I don't hate it, but I'm not going to support it. I'm not saying that he can't do it. I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that yet. But again, Pritchard, very, very solid. And then, with the front court, Derek White and Drew Holiday, we could sit here and talk about them, guys, but I am interested in just talking about a little bit of the deeper of the bench, because we did see a lot of the deeper bench today. Drew Peterson had a great game today. Kind of interesting to see him. Lonnie Walker, guys, though. And I talked about this on the podcast with Finn Sands from Celtics Insiders, and something he said was that he sees Lonnie Walker being tested this entire preseason, different situations, playing with different players, and it's just kind of getting a feel for who he kind of is and how he can buy into winning culture, guys. Tonight, he only played 4 minutes, the last 4 minutes of the garbage time, which is exactly what Finn said. So props to Finn on that, guys. When you look at Lonnie Walker, what are your expectations for this preseason? Because obviously he is on that E10 deal. He is not officially inked with the Celtics for this year.
It's definitely going to be him working up the depth chart. I think that he is in the back of the line like everyone else who is new to the team.
Right.
I think even with his experience he has and what we all hope to know that he can bring to this team, what he can potentially bring to the table with his athleticism, his two-way play, just being, if he was off the backcourt with Pritchard behind Drew and Derek, I think that is the perfect 1-2 swap or platoon swap for them. I think we're going to see probably a little bit more minutes out of him. I would like to see him in the first half, maybe on Sunday, just to get his feet wet with Tatum and Brown and the first unit and see how he fares with them. But I think he's still got some time to work himself into the roster.
Yeah, I mean, Franco, it's interesting you say you want to see him kind of with Tatum and Brown because, dating back to his days in San Antonio, we know what we're getting from him. I mean, he's been in the league a while, I feel like, but he's still fairly young. I think either 26 or 27, still fairly a young guy, for the NBA. But like I said, he's proven, I mean, we know what we can get from him. He can score. I honestly believe we could, any given night, you give him 20 minutes, you could get 10 to 15 points out of the guy. But like you said, I feel like this whole preseason is just going to be not like a tryout, but like let's see what you got. You're on.
It's a tryout. I mean,
it
is an E10. He is trying out for this team right now.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting, like you said, Franco. I think it would be really interesting to see if we could. I don't think Tatum and Brown are going to play a ton in the preseason. Like today is probably the most we'll see them play in a preseason game. Like anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes. So it's not going to be a lot, but I think if they could give Lonnie Walker, 2 to 4 minutes or anything with the starting rotation guys,
right.
Just put him in there because, like I said, he's proven himself as a starter in the league. So a starter in the league and a starter on a championship team is a lot different. But I still think,
it's a great point.
Yeah, I still think that like I said, he's established himself. So I think it'd be interesting to see him with the guys.
I think it's like a really unique situation where if we weren't running it back, say we had lost Pritchard or Hauser, you would think, okay, Lonnie, boom, your role, you are coming off the bench. It's like so established. I think the tough part that Lonnie's going to find is that, like, again, what we're running it back. The rotation just won an NBA championship together. And I think if he does make this roster, you're not going to see him a whole lot until like midway or like 25 games in if things aren't really shaping out how we think they are. And as much as I love Lonnie, I think Lonnie is the most talented offensive player we have on the bench of this team. I really believe that. But I mean, the realistic side of things is, it's tough. It's going to be tough to crack this rotation, Randy. I love that point you just made. Starting in the NBA is one thing. Starting on a championship caliber team is a whole nother one. So, you didn't see out of him. You didn't see anything out of him today, which was kind of disappointing. But I think you will see more out of him as we progress. I hope to see him, like you guys were saying, get some runs with the ones and hopefully the twos eventually as well. Hopefully that's like next game. We'll see though, because again, I do think Joe's testing him. I do think there is, how do you react to only getting 4 minutes? How do you react to playing in the garbage time? Like, what's your vibe around the locker room like? Are you going to be, because you just don't know the guy. And if you're bringing him into the championship core, then, you just want to get a feel for, for stuff like that. So, that'll be interesting as well. Guys, again, as much as you can get out of a preseason game, but let's touch on White and Holiday here, because I will say I loved what I saw from Derek White out of the gate. I think he came out and he kept the Celtics going. And what else to expect from D White, other than he's the high motor guy for this team. But I mean, when you look at it, these two guys, the X Factor that Slam Art magazine put out, I loved that. I feel like this season it's going to be more of the same now.
That's what I'm happy about it. And I think that it's going to be a lot of the same for a lot of things this season. When we talk about Tatum, we talk about Brown, we talk about White, we talk about Holiday. I would just am curious on how they can grow even further than they've already have. And they definitely have to. When you win a championship, the laser's right pointed in between your head.
Right.
I think that they are going to have to figure out more ways to highlight their own individual talents as a group, because they've shown that can succeed as a team. But how can they show a way that they can individually highlight each other person on the court?
Yeah, I mean, look, tonight Derek White came out 9 points right off the gate in the first quarter. I mean, he came out hot. There's no question that I think down the stretch towards the end of the season last year, and playoffs came, you could argue Derek White was the most consistent 3-point shooter on the team down the stretch for the Celtics, dating back to even the beginning of the season. We knew what he came in, potential he had. But he was the most consistent 3-point shooter down the stretch. And then you add Drew Holiday to that, all defensive guy. We know what he has on defense. He adds his 3-point shooting ability. Once again, kind of like I was talking about earlier, Drew Holiday also drives the ball great, uses his body, shields the ball, and he's a in the paint threat as well. And then you talk about the front court pressure, arguably, or maybe not arguably, the best front court in the league, Derek White and Drew Holiday. You add that aspect to the game, and I think Drew Holiday and Derek White are kind of like the glue that hold this whole team together.
Right.
Because any given night, Holiday and White could drop 30 to 40 points, and then you add the Jays, whatever, and that gets you 80, whatever. So I think Drew Holiday and Derek White are going to be, two X factors to watch this year. But like I said, 9 points out of the gate tonight, and Drew Holiday, I liked Holiday. Even I'm not sure what his assist numbers were, but I like how he kind of Yeah, no, I didn't think so, but I think he got some good hockey assists. He was facilitating, kind of like we talk about with Tatum. Even the numbers aren't there. He's spreading the floor. He's making the right plays, and I think Holiday did a great job at that tonight.
Yeah, he's in year what, 14?
No,
14?
17, I think, or 14. 14 is it? I don't know. Horford's in 17.
Was he drafted 07? Or 08. Oh,
I
wait.
don't
He
know.
was 08. So you're 16. You're 16 for
16.
Drew.
I knew. Yeah.
Yeah. So, he played 12 minutes, keep his legs fresh. He doesn't need, especially like, he doesn't need much of this. He's 34 years old.
Yeah.
He knows what an NBA season entails. Although I will say, I think he looked good. He looked quick. He looked in his spots where he needed to go. His 3-pointer didn't fall. 0 for 4. It happens. Again, it's preseason game, first game of the year. In totality, though, the Celtics, they looked in sync. They looked like they hadn't lost a step. Offensively, I do think defensively they looked a little weak, but again, it's preseason. I think we'll see them ramp up as this preseason progresses a little bit. So it'll be exciting. But guys, again, just like they need preseason, we need preseason too. It's been a minute, I feel like, since we've been here on live doing a post-game show. But we are very excited to have you guys covered all preseason long, all regular season long, and hopefully all postseason long, guys, as we follow the Celtics attack on 19. It started tonight in Abu Dhabi for game 1. The Celtics were victorious 107-103 against the 2023 defending champs, the Denver Nuggets, guys. Like I said, Peyton Pritchard was your player of the game, 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists for preseason P in today's action. Guys, the Celtics and the Nuggets are back at it Sunday at 10 a.m., October 6th. Tip-off will be probably right around 10:10, and then you can catch the Pats play the Dolphins later in the day over at 1 o'clock. Guys, we'll have you covered after the final buzzer sounds in that game. I'm Rob. Next to me, my man, Nick Franco, and all the way over there to the right is the new man, Randy Elfman. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, and as always, until next time, go Celtics.